The ANC's National Executive Committee is expected to meet from today with a number of burning issues set to top the agenda. Among those is the Integrity Committee's report on Phala Phala and the farm saga there, and of course the preparations for the upcoming National Elective Conference. For more on what the NEC is expected to deal with and the possible outcomes of their meeting, we're joined this morning by political analyst Prof Leseba Teffo, who joins us for the moment via our telephone lines. Prof, always good to talk to you. There's a lot that will be on the agenda for this NEC meeting from today. Shall we kick it off with the Integrity Committee reporting back on whether it's made a finding on the President insofar as Phala Phala is concerned? What are you looking out for there?
Well, obviously they will make a finding, right? The question is, what type of finding is it that they are going to make, right? There is no way that they would meet and not come up to a conclusion of some sort. How that finding is going to be processed is another matter. What it is and how it is going to be processed is another matter. Don't forget that there are numerous structures or organs of state, about 5, if not 6, that are looking into this matter. And I doubt very, very strongly that you could be acquitted in all of those, especially on matters of how much money or foreign currency is one allowed to keep on his person. Whether the president or Leseba, how much can one keep, right? That question is very uppermost to me. 2, was there a robbery or not? Who has an obligation to report or not to report if there is a crime, especially of that magnitude?
Right.
For those 2, definitely, there has to be a finding one way or another.
Prof, do we still have, or have we ever had, do we believe in the teeth, in the ability of the Integrity Committee to hold a member of the ANC in a leadership position properly accountable?
Well, the Integrity Commission, I said then, I can repeat myself, is men and women of integrity who have paid their dues. But I thought it would have been good for them just to walk away from the so-called Integrity Committee, because it just spoils and destroys their legacies, their achievements, their contribution to the society.
Yeah.
It has become a political football. And I think some of them are of such stature that out of their own goodwill, they should have just walked away. Whatever they are going to submit, even the members of the ANC themselves, they don't put any premium on the so-called Integrity Committee. Whatever recommendations they would come up with. I mean, they cannot even respect their own decisions and their own structures. They are not agreed on anything. And on this one, divisive as it is, one wouldn't expect much to come out of it.
Well, that's the next question for you, Prof. Believe it or not, we've been discussing this issue for some time, as has the African National Congress. The step-aside resolution is back up for a discussion on the agenda this morning.
Yes, it is. That's very interesting. Hence one often says they take decisions that they don't process properly, only to invite the court to help understand the decisions that they themselves made. Right? I guess they were very sober when they did that. But because they are so factionalized, they are so self-serving, they look at what is in it for me. There is this major principle or a maxim, so to speak, act according to that maxim that you can at the same time will it to become a universal law. Whether in your own favor or that of another, never use the other as an end, as a means, but always as an end. So always they are self-driven. They are not motivated by service to and for the other.
The issue of, charges, whether charges have been leveled against a particular person insofar as effecting the step-aside resolution, that's come up time and time again, right? Because the argument is always, but there are no charges against me. Where does the issue of ethical leadership come into the fray?
Yes. And there is this seminal document that I put such a high premium on called Through the Eye of the Needle. Had they lived up to that 20 years ago, they wouldn't be where they are today. what there is, when it comes to ethical leadership, I think they are averse to that. They are almost allergic to that. Look at how decisive can it be when it comes to matters of this. How the young SA, Action in South Africa, can be when it comes to matters of this nature. Right? They are decisive. They act pronto and decisively so. But the ANC, yes, you just feel sorry for the once glorious movement. It has been infested to such an extent that it cannot redeem itself from itself.
There's a lot happening in the build-up to December, and I feel like we've been saying this line for the whole of 2022. We've been building up to this big political event in our country, which is the ANC's elective conference in December. And part of that is, various things that are happening in various provinces, including Gauteng. What happened in Ekurhuleni, Prof? Can I get your comment on, this existing deal that apparently was there? We've now had it confirmed by both the EFF and the ANC that there was a deal going into that issue around the mayor in Ekurhuleni being removed. And there was a deal between the ANC and the EFF about what would happen in Ekurhuleni, and then, as a consequence, of course, what would happen in Johannesburg. Mzondile Masina now faces a disciplinary for apparently reneging on that deal. I mean, there are a number of things that this tells us about governance, about coalitions. What do you make of it?
Look, let me talk about what people don't talk about. The beauty of what happened at Ekurhuleni. I think there are many lessons learned by the electorates, potential voters. That the sooner they wake up to the fact that they chose one party and decide whether, with all its imperfections, there has to be one that you can say, I can live with. Because this fragmentations of our politics doesn't take us anywhere. Right? That's for me. And number two, the people also I'm sure they have learned now that through this, it is not about them. It's about themselves and access to the national granary. How they can distribute the loot. That's the beauty of this for me. That today people have been forced to learn and to appreciate, if they doubted at one stage, that these fellows about themselves. No. Listen, they never mentioned the service delivery or the voter whenever they talk. It's just kamina, kawena, kamina, kawena, kawena, kamina. Just that. They are fighting over the loot. Give me X, I'll give you Z. You do A, I'll do C. Something like that. And I'm saying we have learned, and coalitions, by the way, they will make sure with time that's their future, that's where we are headed, whether we like it or not. And now that we are where we are, even Port Palazzi can sleep at least peacefully, not in peace, but knowing that at least he will be there for the next 12 months, or even beyond.
Yeah.
Simply because people now accept that we have failed, the ANC failed, the EFF failed, because they never put the people at the center. And I think I'm happy it happened that way.
Professor Leseba Teffo, as always, thanks very much for weighing in on what is a big political moment for South Africa, all of these events building up to the December elective conference of the African National Congress.